Hi guys, welcome to this video. This week I'm having a quick look at Warcry, which is Games Workshop's new up-and-coming game set in the Age of Sigmar universe. Looks really interesting. It seems to be based on the Chaos Warband idea. For those of you who aren't familiar with Chaos Warbands, they were one of the earlier ways in which the game could be played. Very much in the Warhammer Fantasy roleplay universe they existed. But they also existed in tabletop as well. There was a lot of weird stuff that went with them. Basically, you'd have a champion of chaos, and as he fought, he'd gain followers, and he'd gain mutations and rewards, and the followers would gain mutations and rewards. It was a whole world of customizability where you can make very unique things. Until we actually get the rules, we're not going to be obviously sure of how much of this is carried over to Warcry, and how much of Warcry is a new game, how much of it borrows from older previous generations of games. But it's being described as Age of Sigmar's kill team. Now, I've got a kill team, I play kill team, I love kill team because of the customizability and the weird things I can do. I looked at getting into Necromunda, but as yet none of the warbands out in Necromunda really inspire me. I'm hoping some of the ones that come out later will, and I'm looking at the enforcers maybe. But a lot of the stuff in Warcry looks really cool. There's several warbands already on show. I'm just going to quickly go through the actual Warcry starter set. If for no other reason than it's nice and easily accessible on Warhammer Community. Warcry starter set comes with obviously your rules, a ton of scenery, and 2 warbands. Yeah, let's just quickly show you. That's the scenery you get in the box set. This looks like it's going to be another very tightly packed, very good value for money starter set. I don't know if the scenery is going to be available separately, but already we can see from that scenery and from the descriptions they've given us that Warcry is planning to be a 3-dimensional game. It's not just a tabletop 2-dimensional and here's scenery that you move around or blocks things. You are going to be going up and down, you're going to be leaping from things and leaping onto things, so that looks really good. They're describing it as a small footprint game, and that's something GW are doing a lot of. They're realising that not everybody has access to 6x4 tables, and not everybody has access to 6x4 areas of floor space anymore. It used to be a fairly common thing. A lot of newer houses are built with smaller rooms to fit more in, and even if they're not, putting easily breakable models on your mum's carpet where your little brother can run over them and stamp them. And in my case, my little kid can run over them and stamp them. Not necessarily a good idea. And I don't, even as an adult, and I've got, I'll just quickly show you. This is one of the rooms in my house. It's reasonably large. And let's turn on, there's the wife. Say hello, wife. Even I struggle to have a 6x4 space that I can just use all the time without blocking stuff off. So they're doing a lot of these games where you can actually just play them on what you've got. Also, they're doing these games in small groups to enable affordability. For example, I've got a kill team. I won't struggle. Yeah, I've got a Blood Bowl team. I've got 3 actually. I've got 4. Wife's smiling now. But it won't be a problem to run a Blood Bowl team, a kill team, a Warcry warband, and a Necromunda team all along each other, because they only have about a dozen models at most each, meaning that whilst you can collect a few extra bits here and there, you're not dedicating yourself to building a 40k army, which can cost upwards of a couple of £100. With this stuff, well, a 40k army these days can cost upwards of £300-400 to get a big, decent army, particularly if you start including things like Knights and the Mega Forces. Obviously, Conquest is available, and that's how I'm doing it. But but these small footprint, small model count games enable people to play multiple systems and avoid what GW did encounter when they were just supporting 40k and Fantasy and The Hobbit, which was game burnout, because a person can only afford 1 system often, or they could afford 2 systems if they were sacrificing stuff, and that meant that they wouldn't get quite as good an army because they couldn't afford to throw all their weight behind one army. And it meant that unless you were well off, or at least comfortably well off, you would suffer, or you would just have one army. So either way, either you didn't enjoy it because you weren't able to invest enough money in getting all the units, or you didn't enjoy it because you were just playing one army all the time, every time, and you'd suffer from game burnout, which is a fairly common thing. If all you play is 40k, then eventually you're going to get bored of 40k. So by making a lot of these small footprint games, a lot of these small model count games, GW are enabling people to play multiple games and multiple systems. And when you get bored of Kill Team, play Warcry. When you get bored of Warcry, play Necromunda. When you get bored of Necromunda, Blackstone Fortress is a completely different experience. And you go on and on and on, and you can just cycle around through their games, continuously enjoying yourself, rather than sitting there going, oh, I've invested so much money in this, I don't want to stop playing, but I'm bored now. Particularly if you get into high competitive games, which is also why they've released Warcry alongside some of the other games like Shadespire, sorry. Like Shadespire, which is designed to be their high competitive game with a very rigid set of rule sets. This hopefully will be looser. They've already described it as your warbands will fight, and as they fight, they will get rewards. I'm really hoping they mean rewards of chaos, like mutations and weird stuff, rather than here's a card. But that's just because I want the model. I want the opportunity to muck about with models. You can see here. I'm just going to expand that. You can see here you've got some fantastic looking sprues. You've got two teams with this. You've got the Iron Golems and the Untamed Beasts. The Iron Golems are basically big hench guys. They make the weapons. They're blacksmiths. They arm the armies of chaos. And then the Untamed Beasts are your more wild chaos marauder style thing. So if you're a fan of the original Warhammer, these two guys are already very archetypal. You've got the Chaos Warriors with their War Forgers and all their core weapons and their golems, and then you've got your Chaos Marauders types, your wild, untamed guys who just fight with bone and crudely made weapons. If we go here, we can see, that's what the Iron Golems look like. They're a variant on sort of the Chaos Warrior type. Like I say, they're more sort of blacksmiths. Worth noting as well, a particular thing that I like. I don't know if he... Maxie! I don't know if he is just a dwarf that's a servant of chaos, or we might be seeing our first chaos dwarf. Certainly he's a dwarf that is a servant of chaos, but it'd be nice to think that he's the first of the chaos dwarves. It'd be nice to see the chaos dwarves in Age of Sigmar. Sorry, coffee. And it'd be nice to see that cool stuff. Here are your Untamed Beasts. As you can see, they've actually got animals in as well, so that's quite cool. But you can see you've got two Chaos Warbands with very different styles, very different ideologies behind them. They're also showing that here you can see there's going to be wild animals, and those wild animals, they haven't said specifically how they're going to affect the game, but there is an indicator that you might be able to include them in your warbands by taming them, or you might be able to... Maxie, say hello. Say hello. Say armpit.
Hello, armpit.
There we go. Go into... Stop it. Right. So it'll be interesting to see whether they're going to be sort of acts of nature or things you can include. I suspect you'll have a bit of both. The terrain, again, you can see you've got very nice terrain sprues. If you look, you can see there are 3 terrain sprues. So you've got 3 terrain sprues and 6 model sprues. So that's 9 sprues in the box already. Having looked at the unboxing video, and I thoroughly recommend you check that out. The box was full to the top. There's not going to be any space in this box for spare stuff, and you've already got two mats out of it. These are going to be this is 2 mats. You've got one double-sided mat. This is most likely going to be a cardboard job, and then you've got your battle plan cards. A lot of people have basically trailblazed including cards in their games. Privateer Press was described as Warhammer with magic built into it. GW had previously used special play cards in Blood Bowl, so these aren't a new thing, and if anything, by this point they should be fairly solid. The rule systems on the cards, the way the cards interact with the game, Maximus, shush now, should actually be very well thought out and very well designed, and one hopes they should be able to combine the fact that they're fun with a decent level of balance. Here again, we're seeing similar to things we've already seen from GW, where you draw a card. One tells you how you're going to lay it out. One tells you what the battle's going to be, or one tells you how the scenery is going to be. This already existed in other games. Final Fantasy's Rune Wars game very much included a random card deck to tell you how you were going to play the game and what the game was. So this isn't new, but it is fairly innovative, and it's fairly innovative for GW. It's an aspect they brought in previously, but it does mark it is showing that they're continuing along this philosophy of seeing what is out there, and I wouldn't say nicking it, but certainly going, this is good, this is bad. We're going to use the good stuff, or we're going to be influenced by the good stuff in our games to improve our system, which is a really positive thing for those of you who went through the dark times of GW. Or as I like to think of them, fifth ed, you will be aware that GW didn't look at other people's games, didn't care what other people were doing, and that's one of the reasons they lost a big market share, simply because other people were coming up with stuff that was fun, and GW stuff was becoming less fun and more about spending money, or at least spending money. Yeah, it was less fun, and spending money was a necessity. The fact that GW are paying attention to the greater gaming world in general, they're looking at seeing what people enjoy, they're looking at seeing how people are playing and what games people are playing, is really good. I don't want to go all the way. I really do prefer codexes over just a bunch of cards. I prefer my battle books over just a bunch of cards. I like having a big tome to read through with a load of background, a load of cool stuff, a load of extras. And having exclusively cards is less fun, so I don't want to go all the way, but it's really positive just because it means that GW are likely to keep creating positive games. If somebody brings out something good, GW aren't going to outright nick it, but they aren't going to ignore it and just keep doing what they do regardless of what customers want, which is really nice. You've got fighter ability cards here. It tells you what the gangs do, what the groups do, what the iron golems do. Here's your specific for characters. I don't know how this is going to be affected by rewards, and how this is going to be affected by the reward system. Again, we'll have to see how that plays. We've got a lot of tokens. A lot of the GW games coming out with massive amounts of tokens. That's really good. If you check out some of the images on my Facebook page, you'll notice I'm playing Blood Bowl with a lot of handmade and homemade tokens. There's a lot of stuff and a lot of conditions to keep track on a lot of these small skirmish games. The idea of being a small skirmish game is it allows you to go into more details. Having tokens like this is a really positive step because it allows you to remember what's going on the board, and it allows you to place physical reminders and a physical memory on there rather than just relying on you and your opponent to remember exactly what's going on. And that's really good. That will help you be sure of what's happened previously and help you go on. And it does indicate the game is going to have a certain level of complexity and customizability, which in turn indicates that the game should have a high level of replayability. It's always the limitation when you have less guys and than a huge army, then you might have less tactics that you can do. This indicates you have a lot of detail, which means you're going to have a lot of tactics, which means you're not going to have that problem. For any of us who've played 40k with our mates, you will be familiar with the scenario of watching your mate set up the same way he has every time and beating him or being beaten by him the same way every time. This should indicate that we've got a lot of differential and a lot of change going on, which is a great thing. It's one of the good things I personally like about 8th ed. It's one of the things I personally like about 8th edition, all the difference and all the bits and pieces they do, and the fact they've included things in there, they've included the officers affecting other things, mean that there's a lot more playability because there's a lot more stuff that can happen and go right or wrong, which means the games are more different, which means they continue to be exciting. I'm just going to look at the warbands. We've got 10 Chaos warbands and 9 non-ish Chaos warbands. Of the 10, they've teased 8 so far. You've got the Untamed Beasts, which are primitive wild men, as you can see, very much sort of bone and primitive weapons there. We've got the Iron Golems, who are literally the opposite. They make and forge much more technologically advanced weaponry, much more high-tech weaponry. We've got the Corvus Cabal. They're like crow and bird people. They rely on high mobility and moving around and outflanking your opponent. You've got the Splintered Fang, who are much more sort of a gladiator style thing, but they use sort of gladiator stuff, weird tactics, and poison. If you want, I'm playing a little game in my head, which feel free to join in at home. Which warband follows which god? We've got the Unmade. The Unmade mutilate and twist their bodies to make them better for battle, and they endure pain in that. Obviously, you can see he's got a little 8-pointed face there. I personally think that the Splintered Fang are possibly a Zentian one, using poisons and weird tactics. I think the Unmade may be Slanesh. The Iron Golems and the Untamed Beast look very much like Khorne to me. Corvus Cabal and this next one, Corvus Cabal look like Zench, and this next one, Cypher Lords, have been outright stated this is your Zentian warband. They're civilized. They come from one of the great cities. They're not a wandering warband. They're actually cultists that have infested one of the great cities in the realm of light. So there's already, you can see there's a lot of cool background already tying into and in fact filling out the lore of Age of Sigmar, which is nice. There's 2 more bands, which we've got the Spire Tyrants, and we've got the Scions of the Flame. No idea which ones those are just yet. Yeah, I mean, I suspect Corvus Cabal are Zentian, but they're also Carrion. They could be Nurgle. You don't know, but with the bird themes again, you don't know. The Splintered Fang, I kind of feel Zentian with weird tactics and poisons, but again, Nurgle uses toxins and that quite heavily. In addition to that, you've got 9 other. So you've got 8 warbands. Sorry, 8 warbands there, 6 of which have been reviewed. Me mucking about with numbers there. You've got 9 other warbands. As you can see, we've got Stormcast Eternals, which you'd expect they are the poster boys for AOS. Daughters of Cain, the way the witches work, how could they not have a warband? The Ironeth Deepkin, they're going to look amazing. The Night Haunts, again, being as the Nagash stuff is all centered around personality, you know, guys that drive the undead personality. You can see those. You got the Iron Jaw. Oh, there you go. You got the Iron Jaws, and that makes sense. The Gloomspire Skits, they're going to be awesome. You got the Legions of Nagash as well, and the Flesh Eater Corps. So undead already have 3 feet in, already have 3 units in the game, so that's entirely a doable thing. Plus, they've already got a lot of models, so it may well be that they're just planning on including existing models and the Bone Splitters as well. So you've got the Orcs, the Alliance of Destruction, already got 2 feet in the game, already got 2 units in the game. And the Gloomspire Skits, so you've got 1 set of humans, 2 sets of elves, 2 orcs and 1 goblin and 3 undead guys, and that's just what they've announced so far. I'd imagine the other guys, I imagine everyone's going to get skin in the game, as the Americans say, but I imagine there's going to be a lot of stuff. This is just what's coming out and what's going to be available in the main box, so this looks really good and really promising. And there's a good chance that because of these ones, you're going to be able to include models you've already got and use models you've got to represent and count. So no doubt they'll bring out box sets in the same way they did for Kill Team, saying, get this box set, it's awesome. And no doubt we'll buy that box set because it will make this cool, and we'll also use some of it in our army. So this looks like it's going to be a game that is going to be very exciting, very cool. It's going to expand along most likely pre-existing lines, so we know that they already know what they're doing, which is reassuring. But at the same time, it's going to be something new and something innovative, and it's going to allow us new ways to play with our models, and hopefully new ways to play with models that already exist, which will hopefully save us money and provide new models for our armies, which is cool. Yeah, there's just basically a lot of stuff in it. They're stating there's 3 ways to play in this, so that looks very promising. And basically, it just says, it goes, here's your box. How the terrain is arranged is designated by card, which we've already seen. I'm hoping that's not going to be too limiting and you're going to be able to use some of your own terrain rather than just having to use the terrain in the box. You've got open play, which is great for larger groups. Multiplayer rules that allow you to play or team up and betray other guys. So that's something very exciting. We haven't seen a proper multiplayer Warhammer AOS game yet. I think there's some multiplayer variants for Kill Team and the like, but this should be cool. You've got matched play, which is what a lot of us are most going to play, where you've got the base system and everything is set up as it should be. You've got in theory balanced forces, and then you've got, I think the one I'm looking forward to the most, narrative play, which is a campaign system, which hopefully will enable you to play different games as you advance and as you get better. They have gone on and said that you don't have to be in the same place in your campaign as the other guy is in his campaign. That you can play, you can be on step 5 of your campaign, he can be on step 2 of his campaign. Or at least I think that's what they said in the video. That's very much what it sounded like. We'll have to wait and see how that works, whether that's got some sort of incentivized or counterbalancing system, or whether I've just misunderstood that and you're playing one set of rules and in a separate game, and he's playing another set of rules in a separate game, and you're playing by yourself maybe, because it may have that. But hopefully it will allow different things, because that means you're actually running a proper warband where your warband is at a certain level, your opponent's warband is at a certain level, and you're just coming across each other so that if someone's warband has been successful and got a ton of rewards and someone else's warband hasn't been successful, it doesn't just roll on. Again, they've done something similar to this in Blood Bowl, so fingers crossed it won't be too much of a stretch for them to adapt something like this to Warcry, and hopefully that is what's happening, because that will make it a lot more fun, because you won't be limited to just playing a matched play style game with a narrative element, but in fact you'll be able to play a lot of people, a bit more like Blood Bowl or the original Chaos Warbands were, and you'll be able to really really run a proper narrative campaign where you're one Chaos Warband fighting another Chaos Warband, killing this guy, hiring this guy, firing this guy, getting tentacles and stuff like that. I'm really excited for this at the moment, but in all fairness, a lot of my excitement comes from what I don't know more than what I do know, because I'm filling in the blanks with GW's previous stuff, and previously when they ran Chaos Warbands, like I said, it was very customizable, it was very exciting, and it had a very sort of heavier element of a kind of investment role play, whereby I still got pen on one for yesterday. Sorry. It had a very heavy element where you really got invested in your warband and their advances and what they got and how cool they become. It's one of the reasons I played Blood Bowl, to see it in something a bit more war-based and a bit more, a bit looser, with a bit more stabby and cool stuff like that in it, would be really fun. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you're looking forward to Warcry as much as I am. They're doing demos for it in a lot of the GW stores this weekend coming, which is when it goes up for pre-order. So we'll be able to find out a lot more. Hopefully by then, people will put stuff on the internet. People will have reviewed how the rules work and how the warbands advance. And hopefully it'll be really cool. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and see you next time. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. Not sure why, but I am. So if you like it, see me there, and please tell your friends. Thanks very much. Bye.